Hi.
Hi, be careful there. There seems to be some sort of shady looming villain behind you there.
Ah.
We're talking about Steven Universe. That, along with like Samurai Jack and Avatar: The Last Airbender, are kind of unofficial anime.
Interesting.
Yeah. So you had just finished the original series, and along with the movie that takes place after the series, we have not started Future yet. Or you haven't.
I'm a couple episodes into Future, but yes, I will. In this episode, this late to the party, we will be discussing the Steven Universe first series and then the movie as well. So, and I think my first impressions were like remembering some of the earlier episodes in the series because I've seen those on TV. I didn't like the like slice of life, like everything compacted into one episode. Like, I want to see story. I want to see like character evolution. I want to see secrets revealed, which you do get through the series. But
I wasn't a fan at first. I really like overarching narratives, kind of what you said with character development. The canned episodes are only relevant to me when they're referenced later on, so I don't feel like my time was wasted to bring things back to anime. Filler episodes, you love them or you hate them, and I hate filler. Steven Universe, because sometimes they'll do some sort of sight gag or something, and then it'll become really relevant later, like the Watermelon Stevens. And
I don't think it ever became relevant, but continue.
The Watermelon Stevens, but then other times you have the whole cat thing. There are other gags that are in other episodes, and you're like, is this going to be relevant later? Is the mayor replacing the other mayor of this town going to be important later? And I think that once you hit season 2, Steven Universe kind of hits a stride. It
gets better for sure. Getting through the first season was a chore because there's like 53 episodes of the first season. I think I struggled because I was like, I know that there are small things happening that will be referenced later, that will like develop characters later. So like, I want to experience that, but nothing consequential is happening story-wise. So it became really hard to like force myself to be invested in the first season. Once you get past that, it gets better. There's deeper sorts of episodes, and there's episodes that explore things that are like more interesting, and there's episodes that have consequences, and like that's more what I want to see. It hits that stride, and then I think it's maybe the last season. I was texting you the whole time I was watching it, or like
you would say things like, "Oh, I really hate Lars," and I'm like, they try to fix him later. Don't worry, but I couldn't say that to you.
There's always this like villain rehabilitation theme throughout the entire show. That's kind of like one of those things, which a lot of anime is guilty of that too. It's like you have this villain, and then all of a sudden, like they become part of the team somehow. I had to keep reminding myself, like, this is technically, it was on Cartoon Network. It is meant for younger eyes than mine. That's something I kept having to repeat to myself. Anyway, I liked it. Some of the characters were like Lars, miserable. Like people you would want to like slap in real life. And I know it's a cartoon, but Lapis, fucking hated Lapis. God, she is just a miserable loser. But there's no development. She's so miserable to watch on screen. Even when like there's progress made to like Steven's like trying his hardest, or the group is trying their hardest, she is just constantly like the Eeyore character, kind of like, oh,
I saw her as like the Shadow the Hedgehog type. Like she's just like the really edgy one.
Well, I wasn't a fan, and I thought, like, so Lars gets this character development in like season 5, I guess. He finally gets this character development, and I'm like, oh, I like him now. Like he's a likable character, and it does make me feel better. Season 1 Lars is awful and I hate him, but seeing him redeem himself and become a better person and ultimately find a bigger purpose is really cool. And I never see that from Lapis. Like, I don't think she changes the whole show. Even towards the end, she still is like very much like she goes to leave the planet because she doesn't want to be killed by the diamonds, but then she like doesn't really leave. But it's not like she's like, you know what, I've changed, I'm gonna like, it's incidental that Steven finds out that she didn't actually leave. Like it's weird. And so her character was miserable to me.
Let's jump to like who your favorite character was.
Yeah, that's what I was getting to. So my favorite was probably actually a fusion. It's the fusion between Garnet and Pearl. The one between Garnet and Pearl where she's like, there's even a whole episode where they do this whole bit where she's like a talk show host. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, I remember this now.
I love that character. That character is so good.
That's my favorite part of the whole series is just
the fusions. The fusions
is like, it has that Pokemon vibe to it of like, which new Pokemon are we gonna see in this one? You know.
I think them fusing as Obsidian was one of my favorite fusions as well. It looks so cool. It takes a sword hilt and like shoves it in its mouth, and then it's full of magma, and then it pulls out like a blade, you know, made from its own like magma. I'm like, that's so cool.
The designs are so creative. Yeah,
I liked the diamonds actually. The blue diamond is like cries all the time, but she's not necessarily like she has moments of like rage, and like she has other variations of emotion, which is interesting. Ultimately, like, this is going to be the bigger spoiler, so if you haven't watched it, then I don't know why you're watching me react to it. But I think all the characters, like Garnet, you find out she's a fusion. Pearl, you find out she's like a servant of Rose. Amethyst, you find out she's like, they're all like these faulty gems, which is like, I didn't see that coming until the end, because in the beginning they're kind of set as this like special team that's here to like, so I thought that was a really cool twist. That's like, it's very earned, and it's not really it's very subtle as well. Like it's not, they kind of talk more about them being ragtag later, but I thought that was a cool twist. But then you ultimately find out, you know, Steven's mom was Pink Diamond and not Rose Quartz, and there was this whole thing, and Pearl, you know, had this information, but she couldn't physically tell this person. And so that was a neat twist. That was something I texted you, and I was like, what? Like, that's crazy. Yeah. And then ultimately, like, in the, you know, final episode, even the diamonds, like, he's like, hey, I'm Pink Diamond, like, I'm her son, like, I have her gem. And they're like, man, we just want to like be a family. So I thought that was really neat. I thought there's a lot of really cool stuff that happens. But yeah, so ultimately the series wraps up really nicely. And I remember like the final episode, I was like, this feels like a really good resolution, you know? So I was like, oh, should I watch the movie right now? Like, I'm feeling good, and I know like usually, like, I've seen enough anime and enough anime movies, not that I agree with you 100% this is an anime, but I've seen enough anime movies to know that they have to like set the main character back to 0. And so I'm like, well, do I want to sit with this good feeling for a while, or do I want to like know what happens next? So ultimately I waited an hour and then watched the movie.
A nice compromise between the two.
I don't know. I'm not as big of a fan of the movie as I think you are. It came around for me, but ultimately, like, I didn't really care about the character of Spinel. This is Spinel, if you haven't seen the show, which I still don't know why you'd be watching this. But
stop watching.
Stop watching. I'm spoiling everything.
Please.
This character is like Cuphead Harley Quinn, basically. Like, that is the character. And I
didn't see Harley Quinn until you pointed it out, but like now that's all I see now.
That's all I could.
Cuphead Harley Quinn. Wow.
I actually liked where the story was going when I didn't care for like the silliness of, she feels a little out of place where she like stretches her body very cartoony, and like not everyone really does. So it felt a little strange, but you know, I'm also used to anime movies where it's like usually the gimmick of the movie doesn't quite fit. Like, yeah,
you see like a gimmicky, aesthetically different villain.
Sure, usually it's different. So they have this like thing, and Steven finds out like, okay, she was Pink Diamond's playmate, and like they were friends, and like they were, you know, hanging out on the Garden Island together, and then Pink Diamond went to Earth for, you know, other stuff, and left Spinel on her garden for 6,000 years, is it? But Spinel waits patiently the whole time until she finds out that Steven is Pink Diamond and has friends, and left her there by herself. I've experienced some friendships that are like toxic like this, and I know, like, I do feel some sympathy in the fact that, like, yeah, it sucks to be left alone, like, and people forget about you, but that doesn't mean like you need to just sit there waiting on those people. Like, that's kind of your fault. The part that bothered me was her character is so like just so toxic and so possessive, and so, like, there were just so many points where she's like, you're leaving me, and I get it, like, she's left for 6,000 years. Yeah, she's probably has some PTSD about that, but it just felt very much like, Jesus Christ, like, yeah, I want you gone because you're fucking annoying. Like, ultimately, the conclusion of the movie, I was more or less happy with. I was like, you know, Steven gets all his powers back, everyone's reunited. Spinell, he basically is like, hey, I want you to meet the diamonds, and you know, they're like, oh wow, you're as close. The whole, I guess, start of the movie, they were trying to get Steven to live with them because he's Pink Diamond and they want to live closer to Pink Diamond. And so ultimately, the end, they're like, oh, we're like her friend, and like that's good enough for us, for, you know, to live with us and remind us of Pink Diamond. And so they take her back and they all live happily, I guess, which is like, yeah, I guess that's fine. Like,
you can take her, please take her away.
It's just funny because it's like it's almost like there's no consequences, because at the end they're just like, okay, yay, we're done, like let's go back to the other planet. And it's like, thinking like how the series would continue from that point, it's like nothing would have changed, you know? So like, what's the point of the movie? I don't know.
So overall, would you recommend Steven Universe to people?
Yes, I would. It's fun. I think it's a good, I don't think I would binge it how I binged it. I think I would watch it more slowly.
All right, well, keep an eye out for Late to the Party Steven Universe Future, and thanks for watching this Late to the Party. This has been Late to the Party Steven Universe on Deskpop. If you have any recommendations for us, reach out at Deskpopcast on all social media platforms. We also have a Reddit, Deskpopcast. Yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe if you'd enjoyed this too. So. That's preferred. You do that first, and then reach out. All right. Well, see ya.
Goodbye.